CEO of Daughters of Worth, and we serve mentorship, advocacy, provide emergency needs, and also trauma-informed mental health services for girls throughout Eastern North Carolina.
Great, thanks, Liz. Emily?
Hi, everyone. This is my first time here. My name's Emily, and I'm from Project Fight. I'm actually a case manager in the Raleigh area, but right now with Juliana being out, I am kind of taking her place a little bit in these meetings until she can come back. So it's nice to meet all of you. Thanks for having me.
Great, welcome, Emily. So, Melinda, why did we change the sound? Okay, now we got an echo going on. Sorry? Marie?
I'm Marie Welch, member of the board of Stop Human Trafficking, North Carolina Stop Human Trafficking.
Great, welcome. Have I missed anyone? Venus, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Venus Curry, and I am the new Community Programs Coordinator for the Pitt County Sheriff's Office. I think y'all were really familiar with Ms. Desha Lane. So I took over when she left us. So she's kind of involved in community efforts. So, you know, she's still my right-hand girl when I need stuff. But, and I come to you all with a wealth of experience with the jail setting. I've worked at PCDC, Pitt County Detention Center, for the last 8 years. First 4 were spent as a detention officer, the last 4 as jail navigator. And pretty much, in long story short, I just played that, I guess, that link or that liaison between the jail and community on behalf of our folks with mental illness and or substance use issues. So I did a lot of linkages with, I know Jay Saunders, I recognize that name from the DA's office, but I work closely with the folks at the, of course, the detention center, the court system, guardians, you name it, DSS, probation officers, on behalf of our folks with those issues. So I'm glad to be here today. It's my first time and just willing to see how I can help in any way.
Thank you, Venus. We look forward to working with you. Although I admit we're going to miss Desha because she's a sweetheart.
Yes.
Is there anyone else that I missed? Well, welcome to everyone. And again, thanks for your patience. Those of you who are Zooming in, if you would please be sure to sign in on the chat with your name and your organization. And if you are new, Venus and Emily, be sure and give us your email address so we can put you on the list so you'll get an invitation next time. So next on our list is good news. So does anyone have any good news to share? Good news from a client, from a grant application, anything?
Yes, Eastland received a $150 donation from Purple Blossom Yoga Studio, because they had a called Grow Grant, Grow and Grow event, and we were beneficiaries of that.
Wonderful.
And then they what's it called? Nutrition smoothie shop. It's called Uptown Nutrition. Is doing something. We're having a rainbow tea this month because it's Friday.
Great.
I don't know where to look.
I know.
So much.
Anyone else have any good news to share?
Pam, we have recently received a grant from Women for Women for $15,000, which has been substantial for us for the emergency service needs. It's helping us to provide shelter and food and clothing and health care, specifically for our survivors of trafficking that, you know, has taken a bit of time to get them into a safe space. And so we are thankful for that. We are also in the very beginning stages of of working to launch a safe home, and we are finding that there's a lot of support in that area. So probably within the next couple of months, there's going to be more action taken with that space. But we are excited to be able to step up and to partner with some community partners and organizations in the area to provide, a trauma-informed safe space for young ladies in our community.
Well, Liz, both of those are great news. I sure look forward to hearing more about the Safe Home, and congratulations on the grant from Women for Women.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any good news?
Thank you.
If not, I'm going to share some good news on behalf of the whole organization. Many of you will remember that on behalf of PCCAHT, we had applied for a grant from Vidant Foundation. And the hope was that what I had applied for was a $25,000 grant. And I'll go ahead and say we did not get that, okay? The hope was that we would have a part-time person who could facilitate and help this coalition grow even more. They were not able to do that, but they did gift us with a $5,000 grant. And so that is something that we're going to need to be thinking about how to best use those funds. One suggestion from Vidant was, if we were able to maybe get a grad student or someone to assist with the coalition, that we could at least pay them a stipend for a semester or something like that. She also mentioned that, if we had clients among our partners and members that had mental health needs that couldn't be met otherwise, that they had cost or anything. I mean, really, they're giving us some latitude because they weren't able to fund the whole amount to do what we actually wanted to do. But anything that's, health, mental health related, that they would be willing to entertain that. So I'd really appreciate it if y'all would think about that and let me know. Probably what I'm going to do is ask for maybe 2 or 3 members of the coalition to kind of get together and try to figure out how to spend those funds most appropriately. So if anyone is interested in that specifically and you'd like to volunteer to be on that team, then you can put it in chat or you can send me an email, because we want it to be a coalition decision as to what happens with that money. So please be thinking about that. Anything else? Okay. We're gonna move forward. Our PCCAHT account balance currently remains the same. Of course, it will be increasing. I believe Kayla said we would receive the money next month. Next, I'd like to have our rapid response team report, but I am, unfortunately, Juliana is not able to be with us. We have another team sort of that's going to mix with, I'm not exactly sure how to put it, but we've got a multidisciplinary team that is in training and is wanting to address needs of clients in the area. Leah, would you be willing, if I can put you on the spot, and if I can't, it's okay, to tell us a little bit about the training that we went through?
Sure. Can you hear me? I think I'm unmuted.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So Futures Without Violence is a national organization that some of you may have heard of. They do a lot of training and advocacy and technical assistance, particularly around domestic violence, sexual assault, and gender violence issues. And they hosted a multi-session training on forming interdisciplinary teams to respond to the needs of survivors of human trafficking, with kind of an emphasis on responding to needs of survivors of human trafficking who may come to systems like the criminal justice system. So we had someone from law enforcement there, or through like sexual assault services. So someone from rape crisis was there, through domestic violence services or shelter services. So these different avenues where a survivor may first encounter services, and then how these different areas can work together in a multidisciplinary team. So some of the assignments that we did involved doing a community resource map, and we are just embarking on that. We have not finished it, but essentially it's a bunch of different categories of potential survivor needs, and then inputting who in our community can meet those needs, and really having a comprehensive resource map so that we all know what we can do and what we can't do, so that we can clearly see where our gaps are, and where we might need to do better and maybe focus more energy. So that was a productive exercise that is still ongoing. And I think any of us would be happy to talk to other organizations about what services you can or can't provide, because one of the things we learned and that they talked about in the training was that it's just as important to know what your community partners can't provide as it is to know what they can provide, so that we can identify those gaps. So I know this has been a little long-winded, so I'll stop going on. But it was a useful starting point, and I think it gives us something to build on going forward.
Thank you so much, Leah. And I really put Leah on the spot, y'all, because I had asked Travis, and I just realized that I have an email from Travis, who was also there. Travis White from the Pitt County Sheriff's Office was there, participated. Lala from Real Crisis participated. I'm trying to remember who else was there. Maria, of course, from the Center for Family Violence Prevention. So we had a great group, and Travis sent some notes because he's not able to get in Zoom this morning. But some of the things that he mentioned were collaboration strategies, which of course we've been working on as a coalition. Having specific protocol and response plans, being sure that the MDT has MOUs in place, building partnerships, being sure the roles are clear for each partner. And then the last session, as he mentioned, was really focusing on sustainability of the team and what the leadership structure would look like, and team action planning, like Leah was talking about. So it was really exciting to receive the training, and we were able to interact with other teams across the country as well, and learn some things that had worked for them and some things that hadn't worked for them. And so that's always good to hear from other people with that experience. So we look forward to the team who received the training is going to get together again and come up with some suggested action steps and report back to the group. While we're still sort of talking about that, I did want to mention, of course, I already mentioned Juliana, and we know that she is continues to have health issues. And for those of us that are actually in the room, I brought a card, and anyone who would like to sign that is welcome to do so. At our last meeting, we signed a card and we sent her some flowers. And of course, she sent me an email saying how much she appreciated that. So I think she appreciates being remembered, even though she can't be here with us. So I wanted to look at our training opportunities. And there are a ton of them. So of course, I am not going to read them to you. One thing I will mention that we talked about a bit at our last meeting, if you go about halfway down the page, the North Carolina Human Trafficking Victims' Rights Training, I went to part one of that, and it was led by a colleague of Leah's through Legal Aid. And I found it to be extremely informative and very helpful to people who work directly with victims. And, you know, the idea of this is not to turn our case managers and our victim advocates into attorneys, because she was real clear. Now, if you have this problem, definitely talk to the attorney. But even just knowing what to refer, when you need to refer your clients to an attorney can be a really helpful thing. So I have the recording of that, and they sent it out to everyone who had attended. So I may just in the next email send that out. But I do recommend attending part 2 if you are able. I did find that very helpful. I see that Stewards of Children has a training coming up. Would Kia or Bonnie Jean like to say anything about that?
We have our Stewards of Children coming up July 13th, and that is from 2 to 4 o'clock. And the registration is, go ahead and just click on the link, or you can register right on our Facebook page, and I'll send out the Zoom link. It is a virtual training that is free of charge, and we're really excited to be able to share that with you.
Thank you. And, you know, we always like to share the Stewards of Children training because of that close relationship between child sexual abuse and sex trafficking. Let's see. The AHEC is having a series on human trafficking trainings. Their trainings are historically really good. And some of you, like me, might have been confused by the fact that they were by AHEC and wondered if there was a fee associated with that, because usually their trainings do have a fee, but these are in fact free. So they're done in partnership with the Human Trafficking Commission. So I'm guessing the funds came somehow through there, but these are free trainings. So I highly recommend those. And of course, I wanted to mention that we've got one coming up next week that Melinda's going to lead for us, tips for keeping kids safe online. Does anyone else know of any upcoming trainings or know of anything about these that you would like to point out? Thank you. As always, if you hear of something that would be related, please send that to me so that we can share it with the group. And the next thing we'll look at are the human trafficking cases. You may have seen these in the paper. I'm not going to read them to you. It seems like every month we have one on child pornography, which many of you know we prefer to refer to as child sexual abuse images, but the legislation, the statute still refers to it as child pornography. Does anyone know of any other cases aside from these two that you would like to point out? Again, if you hear of cases in the press, please feel free to send those to us, because although we think we're on every list there is out there, sometimes things get by us, so we'd appreciate that. So our next item up is the most important one, and the one that we've all been looking forward to. I want to introduce Ashley Lowe to you. And Ashley and I have had a chance to meet. We had lunch together last week and just really enjoyed a chance to interact with her one-on-one. And I'm just going to ask her now to tell us a little bit about her work with Corona Rising.
Again, hello everybody. I'm very pleased to be here. I am a little bit nervous. I always get like this and I do this all the time. So please bear with me if I stumble or I'm saying the ums, buts, and okays. So I first met my founder, my director, when I was incarcerated at 17. She was with a nonprofit organization and founder of another nonprofit called Fair Girls. She resigned and let down that one, and she started Corona Rising a year and a half ago. I've been with them for a year and a half. I do Metropolitan Police trainings with cadets, with Metropolitan Police cadets, talking to them about what my experience was like with law enforcement at the age of 13, telling them a little bit about how would they approach a victim that has been involved with human trafficking. I write blogs. I also, right now we're coming up with a curriculum, a workshop that is led by survivors for survivors. I am a facilitator of one. It's been so many dates about when we're gonna launch. We're supposed to launch last month, then this month, so it just keeps getting pushed back. But I will be facilitating a group called Transformational Journaling to help young ladies that were like myself in writing and you know, digging a little deeper within themselves through writing. I do a lot. I really do a lot. In 2015 or 16, my story, along with others, helped impact the safe harbor law, saying no child under the age of 18 could be charged with prostitution. If anything, they need to be referred to an organization, a nonprofit like ourselves, and things like that. So I've done a lot. The list can go on and on of all the advocacy work that I've done. But right now, like I said, I currently do Metropolitan Police training with Metropolitan Police cadets, blogs, workshops. I've helped with a mentoring program through another organization based in California. So I'm just doing different little projects at a time. So that's pretty much what I do right now. Can everybody hear me? Oh, okay. I'm just looking, I'm like, hello?
Thank you. Thank you for that. And you mentioned Safe Harbor, and you had told me a little bit about that as well. Would you be willing to tell us a little bit about how you assisted in getting that passed in Maryland?
Well, it's in DC, and then eventually they did in Maryland, but the one specifically that I did was in Washington, DC, which was in Washington, DC. At the age of 13, I was charged with prostitution, and I was committed through DYRS, also known as Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services. From 13 to 17, I've been incarcerated a lot. I'm now about to be 27, so that is behind me. But from 13 to 17, I was incarcerated a lot. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want to do it in 2015 just because I kind of felt out of place. But Andrea had asked me, you know, I've also been on CNN, but I was the silhouette, just talking about my experience. So like I said, in 2015, Andrea had asked me to go in front of Senate or Congress, where they pass laws in DC. I want to say every senator from every state was there. I felt so out of place. Andrea, she worked heavy on my case. Also, a lady named Martina Vandenberg. She works with the Human Trafficking Legal Center in Washington, D.C. Everybody came together and they knew about my story. And they worked on my case as a juvenile. And I was asked to help influence that no child under the age of 18 should be charged with prostitution. So, like I said, at first I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. But I wrote my story, and Andrea, like she kind of did most of the talking for me in front of everybody. But not just, it wasn't just my story. Along with many others, our stories were told, and I was actually there when they signed the bill. I got a chance to meet the governor or senator from Texas. I can't remember her name, so y'all excuse me. I do apologize. I was able to meet her. I felt very loved and welcomed after the fact, and everybody coming to me saying like, you know, your story is so powerful. Thank you. So it felt really good after the fact. But at first I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. You know, I don't know if I want to put my name on my story all out in the business, but I did. And I felt very welcomed. And then, like I said, I just kind of feel like a lot of survivors are stereotyped. I kind of feel like, so there was a lot of reasons why I didn't want to do it at first. But after the fact, I'm like, okay, well, like I feel the love. Like I didn't know no better. I'm 13 and I'm being charged with prostitution. And then after a while, I started doing little stuff within the organization with Fair Girls. So this is not coronavirus Corona Rising now through Fairgirls. So I just started doing little things. And then, like I said, Andrea asked, would I like to be a part of it? And I was like, yeah. After, you know, growing up and knowing that I was a victim and that should have never happened to me, I should have received help. And I'm like, well, I need to help another young lady that was like myself. So I did it, and they were able to pass the law in 2015 called the Safe Haven Law. And actually, after DC, a couple other states passed it as well. Not right in the same time frame, but you know, eventually throughout different states, they started approving it, saying no child under the age of 18 could be charged with prostitution. If anything, they need to have resources and be referred to organizations, you know, something for help and support. And that's something that survivors lack a lot. There's no support.
So much for your courage and being willing to do that. I just can't imagine. Would you be willing to share one common experience that, you know, you and I had talked about this, that you said there was one common experience that all the survivors that you've ever talked to shared? And what was that experience?
We all come from a broken home. There's always something that's broken. Now, whether that be sexual abuse, whether that be physical abuse, emotional abuse, an absent parent, every survivor that I personally know that either, I don't want to say willingly wanted to be in the life or choose to be in the life, but there's something that led them, whether it was forcibly or willingly, that led them into the lifestyle. Something has went wrong as a child. Don't nobody just wake up and be like, hey, I want to solicitate myself, or I feel like I want to do this. And it's never like that. It's always something deeper, what led them into the lifestyle, whether that was forcibly, like I said, whether that was willingly. Every survivor, and that's just me speaking on my personal experience within myself and along with other survivors that I know, there's always something that has been broken.
Do you have any suggestions for anything that the community could have done in your case, or that just in general you think could have been done to maybe stabilize your family situation, or, as I said, the family situations of others in a similar situation?
I mean, honestly, like I say, you guys, I've been locked up from 13 to 17. What led me, like I said, of course, something was broken in my home. A lot of the things that I said, you know, and I'm not trying to downplay, you know, my family or nothing like that, or point fingers or nothing like that. But, you know, I ran away, and one thing led after another. And, you know, just that was just that. Like I said, I was locked up from 13 to 17. Out of every placements I've been to, and I've been out of, well, all this was in, you know, through DC, Maryland, and Virginia. That's where I'm from. And then they shipped me to Colorado and Utah. I've been in a lot of placements, group homes, facilities, residential centers, behavior centers. At the age of 17 is when out of all the placements that I've been in, I never received the proper help that I need. At the age of 17, when I was in Colorado, it's a RTC, a residential treatment center. I was there for like a year and a half, and they had a Pacific group every week for girls that have been involved in, you know, prostitution, human trafficking, exploitation. And there were about 7 of us. And out of every placement that I've been into, I never had that support. I felt like a lot of people looked at me in different placements. I felt like a lot of people looked at me like I just wanted to be promiscuous and do what I wanted to do. I felt like nobody really wanted to help me identify what the real problems were. I feel like a lot now, there's not enough support for survivors. And that's not necessarily financially, physically, there's not a lot of emotional support. And I was talking to Pam about this when we met. You have NA, you have AA, you have anger management, you have all these different things, but where is the support for survivors? whether if it's just a group once a week, you know, it always feels good. It always feels good. Sorry, y'all. It always feels good knowing, I know personally for me, and I love doing the work that I do. I honestly feel like there's nothing that feels better than it coming from a survivor itself. I look at it like, I want to see, what was her name? She said something earlier. She's from Newport, VA. Even if it's one person. And I feel like that was my problem. There were nobody to really, are you okay? Of course, you had the mental in that type of sense in all these different placements, the diagnosis of all these different mental disorders and things like that. But where was the real support of, well, you know what do you feel like led you up to this? Or, you know, what are your deeper issues? It was never like that. So I feel like the biggest thing that could have helped me then was the support. There wasn't enough support for me in this in the lifestyle that I was in. There wasn't enough support for me.
Ashley, you mentioned the support group at this residential facility was really helpful to you, and it might be good for some of us that are, you know, working in wanting to support survivors. Who led that? Was that another survivor that led it? Was it a counselor?
No, it was actually, I'm sorry. It was actually, it's kind of funny though. He was a male. And you know, some survivors kind of feel uncomfortable a little bit like talking to a male about these issues because it feels like you don't know nothing. Like, how you gonna tell me about anything if you a man? Like, but y'all, I like to y'all not. He was like one of the best therapists ever that has ever happened. Like, and he really knew what he was talking about. He was actually our all the 7-8 girls that were in there, he was our therapist. Like outside of the little group that we held every week, he was our therapist. And he had other people on his caseload within the facility, but he was our therapist and he really knew what he was talking about. And he really helped us. And he didn't sugarcoat nothing. He told it how it was. So he didn't play with us, especially within that group. He really didn't play with us. But he was a counselor and he was a male. And you know, his name was Gene, and like, I don't know, just talking about it is giving me chills. But he was a really good counselor, you know, therapist, whatever you want to call him, but he was that. But it actually was. Also to touch base on that's why we're doing what we're doing as far as these workshops led by survivors for survivors. So that's very important to me, and I was glad that I had that opportunity to facilitate and be a part of these workshops that we're creating, because like I said, the lack of support is kind of thin.
Great. I wanted to kind of go back a minute to some services that you and I had talked about. And we talked about the fact, and you mentioned a moment ago, you know, that you didn't feel like you had a lot of support. What are some specific services that you think might have helped you as a teenager to deal with what was happening to you?
Well, honestly, as a child, I experienced therapy at a young age due to some family things that were happening inside our household. I don't, now that I really don't have the remembrance of it. It's like vivid. I have had therapy in all these different places, psychiatrists and all these different things, but I felt like they just like, okay, we about to put her on medicine. That's just it. We're just gonna put her on medicine, and we don't care about what her issues are. I did have somewhat of family therapy, but like I said, it was neither here or there. It never really addressed, and I felt like my parent was kind of so much in denial about what led to some of the behaviors and things that I experienced and encountered. So I feel like that was number one. A lot of parents who take full responsibility for things that, you know, maybe what led to their children being, you know, a little bit all over the place, being a little bit wild. That was a big thing, like family therapy. I tell people this a lot. I was never really, some people might say, no, you was hurt. I felt like I was not really much depressed growing up as a child. I felt more so I was very angry. I was a very angry child. And even before me being charged at 13 with prostitution and things like that, I was very angry at certain things that had happened to me. And I'm asking, like, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? Why this? Why that? Just the whys and everything else. But I felt like a big thing that I didn't receive that I felt like I should have was a little bit anger management, because I did have an anger problem. The family, like family therapy, like I said, it's kind of hard to do family therapy when, like I said, you have the other person being in denial and not trying to take full responsibility for their actions, and thinking that somebody's just trying to downplay them, or think that, oh, I'm just trying to come for my mom, or I'm just trying to come for whoever it may be. So the two things that I felt like I lacked a lot were anger management and family therapy. I felt like that was very much needed. In certain placements, there were family therapy meetings where my mom would come in and we would talk, but it was BS. The real like, okay, well, what led her? And then, like I said, it kind of made me upset, because I love my mama to death. So y'all, please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to come on here and like downplay my mom. I'm not trying to do none of that, you know? So I don't want y'all to think, well, like, oh, you know, I don't want to do that. But a lot of what have happened to me had a lot to do with my mom, the absence of my dad, and things that happened to me as a child. But when we were approached with the family thing, it was, well, that's BS. She's not doing that because of the stuff I did. And like I said, she was just in denial about a lot of stuff. So like I said, and I keep repeating myself, but those were the two main things for me. And
Ashley?
nobody really trying to.
Ashley, you keep locking up.
It's freezing.
We lost her altogether, I think. Okay, y'all. Hopefully she will rejoin us. I know that y'all are being touched, as I am, by hearing about all that she went through. And there's several other things that she wanted to share with you. Is she trying to get back in? Not yet. Okay.
Pam, this is Minerva.
What I'm going to do is go over some announcements, and then I'm going to hope that she rejoins us. If not, I'll mention a couple of things that I know she wanted to share.
Pam, can you hear me?
Back of your agenda are several announcements. Me and Google Drive were really fighting when I was doing this agenda. So one of them that's not on here that I intended to have on here was the long sleeve shirt drive is still going on for the migrant workers. If you or your organization are able to help with that. Umbrella Market is every Wednesday night. I was there last night, so that's a lot of fun if you have a chance to go. Of course, we have the already mentioned the webinar that Melinda is leading next week, and someone else brought up to us, Ashley text, oh my God, my internet's messing up. That there's a pride event on the 26th, and it was brought up at our last meeting, you know, do we as the coalition want to have a table there? And we had one person who said she was going to check her calendar, and I don't know if she had a chance to do that or not. Is there anyone else who is interested in staffing a table for the coalition at the Pride event on the 26th.
I'm the one who brought it up at the last meeting, and Deborah and I are actually going to be out there with the health department table. And so if we don't have a table specific to the coalition, if you've got materials that we can take out there, we'll take them. And I can run by and get whatever you need to get, and we'll put them on the table.
Perfect. Hi, Ashley. We lost you. Say that again. Let me give this to Melinda. She is my tech person. Talk to her. It's Ashley. So that would be great. And in fact, you can take those today if you want to take some of those posters, and we'll get some like little postcards with the date of our meetings and that kind of stuff on it, and get that to you by then. That would be awesome. Thank you. We appreciate that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is now that we can resume our in-person thing, we are going to resume having our Human Trafficking 101s in person. And we're going to continue, of course, to have webinars. But I wanted to mention we're going to have one in this very room in August. And I'll put this, there's some, for those of you that are here, there's some flyers here y'all can take. And what I'll do is put that in the folder. We are also going to be in Snow Hill at the end of July and in LaGrange at the end of July. So I don't know if there are those of y'all who serve folks in Greene County and other surrounding counties that you might want to share that with. And again, I'll put that in the folder. And this is, I think, is really exciting news. So many people have said to me, okay, I have taken Human Trafficking 101. What do I do next? So we are creating a Human Trafficking 201. That's going to be sort of the next step, go a little bit in depth. And so that's going to be offered as a webinar in July, and then will be offered in person probably in the fall. So we already have a Human Trafficking 201 that's directed more at service providers that goes in depth about things like screening tools and that kind of stuff. But I think our general supporters, our general folks that are interested in human trafficking are hungry to have a little bit more about this too. So we are in the process of creating that, and we'll have that in July 14th, I believe. I want to do another shameless plug for our barbecue bluegrass and brew coming up in October. So I hope some of y'all will consider attending that. So those are the announcements that I am aware of, aside from our training ops. So do you all have other, it's okay. Other events coming out or announcements that you would like?
I've got to say the meeting number ID, so if you'll give me a second. It's 912. Okay. 912-1675-9556. 9556. Thank you.
Events or announcements? Okay, how about those of y'all tuning in? You guys have anything coming up?
Is anybody talking? Oh, Ashley's
Welcome back, Ashley. Unmute yourself.
Sorry. Can you guys hear me? Oh my God. Can everyone hear me? Am I going in and out or anything?
No, you're fine.
Okay, I do apologize, everybody. I was having internet problems. So I do apologize.
Okay. So thank you so much for what you were telling us. One thing I wanted to go back to, so you were talking about how your mother was in denial. And I think when we think about at large, kids who are having an issue with, running away that may or may not lead to human trafficking, you said they all are coming from something broken. And so I wondered from you, if you thought it would be helpful for the parents themselves to receive, like when they are involved with Child Protective Services, or when their child is involved with criminal justice system, would it be helpful to have some therapy for the parent themselves, even separate from the child, to kind of figure out what's going on in the home, help the situation that's going on in the home, and perhaps even parenting classes? I mean, are those services that you think would help stabilize those homes that these kids are in? I think you're locked up again. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry that we're having the technical difficulties. What I'm going to do, y'all, is look at the notes of what we had talked about and what she had specifically decided that she wanted to share. So one thing that we did talk about was this idea of family therapy, but also specific therapy for the parent. Oh, she's back.
I'm not messing with the computer no more. I'm just gonna do it from my phone. So y'all gotta excuse the.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that you had mentioned is that there are things that parents can reduce the vulnerability in their kids, and you had mentioned several things to me that you do with your kids and that you would recommend. So would you like to share that?
Yes. I have children. I have 4 children, 3 biologically mine, and then I have a stepson, but that's still my baby. This generation, first, let me just start from here. This generation is very advanced. When I say it, I don't remember as a child being on no phone, being on no tablet. I don't remember. So we used to go outside. That was our leisure. I have noticed, being in the advocacy work, that I have a lot of these sites for these children are a lot of traffickers are using roadblocks to victimize children. I've heard of a situation through my nonprofit organization that traffickers have groomed and started to groom children off roadblocks. There's a lot of things going on with these social media sites with these children. So I specifically talk to my kids because, like I said, certain things have happened to me when I was younger. I talk to my kids about good touch, bad touch. I also let them know that people try to manipulate, and they would tell you, oh, don't tell your mom or so-and-so, or I'm going to hurt them. I'm going to do this, and that. I advise my kids of all that. My kids know not to talk to strangers. It's kind of messed up, but I don't allow if I'm not outside, I don't allow my children to play in the front yard. They play in the back. I talk to my kids. I don't sugarcoat nothing with my kids. Now, it might not be acceptable to some, but I definitely have real conversations with my children. My 10-year-old, I'm now in the process of trying to, transition to, talking about sex a little bit. He do have sisters. He do know that, things are different between, a male and a female. Just like little things. I definitely talk to my kids, and that was a big problem for me. Nobody talked to me about the birds and the bees. Nobody talked to me about good touch, bad touch. There was a lot of things as a child that a lot of things weren't explained to me. And they say you have to be the one to break the cycle. I'm breaking the cycle for my kids. I don't, you are a product of your environment. And, I've been in North Carolina back and forth throughout 4 years. And I feel like this is a safe place for me to raise my children. I have cut a lot of ties off with people that were toxic to my life. And this more so was as a child, 18, but a lot of things transition into my childhood, to my adolescence, and a little bit into my adult, and I want to be the one to break the cycle. My mom had it growing up rough, so she tried the best to do what she could for her kids, but how can she talk to me about sex and all these different things when nobody was talk to her about sex and all these different things? I know that she tried her best, but her mother wasn't a mother to her. So she tried the best that she could to be a mother to us. Well, being as though I know the information I know about my grandma and my mama, I want different for my kids. So I just, I try not to sugarcoat nothing with my children. I really, I'm really trying to prepare my kids for life and give them the tools and necessities that they need to be successful. Because right now, and I tell them all the time, you guys are sheltered. Eventually, you will go into the real world and you will experience things for yourself. And of course, granted, they're going to do what they want to do. They're going to experience certain things. They're going to do all, but I feel good and comfortable knowing that I gave my kids the knowledge and the tools to be successful once eventually, they go out there and they experience life. And that wasn't given to me.
Thank you for that. Something else, when we were talking about things that parents might be able to do, I remember you specifically saying that that children needed the support of their parents so that they wouldn't look for it elsewhere.
I read somewhere that if your children, okay, I got little kids. I got a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and 9-year-old. Well, 10-year-old, he just turned 10, and my baby, she'll be 6 in December. So my 2 oldest, I really talk to them. I read that like if your child comes to you and say they showed you a picture, like, oh look, mommy, look what I drew. A lot of people now, they're like, girl, go sit down, like go do something. They don't want to pay attention. I've learned little things like that. Let your children know at that young age that you support them. And later on down the line, they'll be like, okay, well, my mom is supporting me, even if it's something so small. And yeah, you might be busy. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, every time my children come to me and be like, mama, look, or mama this, mama that. I mean, I have my times where it's like, well, hold on, I'm busy right now, things like that. But little stuff like that is very important to children. I didn't feel like I had no support. I didn't feel the love at all. And having my personal experience, my dad was very absent in my life. I caught myself looking for that attention in other men. A lot of the relationships that I have been in the past were very toxic, very domestic. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm saint and I'm perfect. I definitely have my flaws, but a lot of that had to do with not having the support I felt like I needed. And, my mama used to tell me, don't do that. Or if you do that, this and this is going to happen. Little things. I'm not going to sit here like she didn't tell me little stuff. But as far as like the love and the support, I didn't have that. My mama love and support was her drug habit. It wasn't for her kids. And not saying it's okay, but back then it made me angry. And I couldn't understand that. So it's like for my kids, the little things that they come to me and show me, I want to support my kids 100%. And I want them to know that I support them in whatever they choose to do. Of course, you want the best for your kids. If your kid, you want to be a doctor and a lawyer, you could do that. But I'm going to support my kids 100%. And that had a big effect on me. I didn't have the support and I didn't feel the love because the love and the support was elsewhere. So support is very important,
Ashley,
with your children.
I'd like to move now. One of the things that we talked about is that we'd like to talk about is your life as an adult, as a survivor. Are there services that you have not received as an adult that would be helpful and maybe would have helped you move towards your goals more quickly than you've been able to do?
Honestly, I had struggled a lot at 17. When from 13 to 17, when I came home when I was 17, I've been in the child protective services, and I also been in the juvenile services. Like I said, I got committed at 13 through the juvenile services until I was 18. I came home when I was 17, and I felt like the biggest problem was for me was a foundation. At the time when I came home when I was 17, my father had passed April 26, 2012. And like I said, he was very absent in my life, but that was still my dad. And I really wanted a relationship with my dad. When I came home when I was 17, my mother was in a 2-bedroom apartment at the time. And my juvenile probation officer, I guess you could say, placed me in a foster home, not because of no child protective services issues, but I needed to have my own space. Well, when I came home when I was 17, I was on an ankle monitor. I was going through a lot of mentally things. I cut my box off. I ran away because I felt like I kind of needed to be with my mom. So I was kind of corrupt a little bit. Crashed again, got locked back up because I cut my ankle monitor off and things like that. After that, after I turned 18 and my commitment was over, I've always struggled with the foundation. I was homeless for real. I bounced from place to place a lot with my daughter. In 2000 and I want to say 16 or 17, this was still Fair Girls. They had something like Liz and them are trying to do. They had a home. It was called the Vita Home for survivors. I stayed there for a little bit. They helped me get enrolled in school. They helped me get daycare vouchers for my daughter. But I heard later on down the line that my daughter wasn't supposed to be there. So my main thing is I've always struggled with housing. I always struggled with a foundation. I feel like still now a little bit, I could use a little bit of anger management. I mean, I'm not angry or nothing, but I never had that. So I kind of feel like it would be a little beneficial for me now as an adult. When I turned about 22, I tried to go to therapy. The therapy that I went to when I was younger. So they wanted to address, they kept bringing up things that have happened as a child. And I didn't want to talk about that because it's a closed chapter in my life. And I just kind of felt like she just kept pressing the issue. So I didn't want to go back to therapy no more. Because like I said, if it's a closed chapter in my life and I'm telling you that's something that I don't want to talk about because it's over and it's in the trash somewhere. And I felt like she made it seem like, well, if you don't want to talk about it, it's still bothering you and you're still holding on to it. It's like, no, ma'am, like it's over and done with, like I don't move forward. And one thing about me, I don't hold on to old baggage. I don't hold on to the things that have happened to me in my past. Honestly, I just wish I would have made better decisions, but I don't regret nothing I've been through because I feel like I wouldn't have the tough skin that I have today. And I feel like I wouldn't have the voice that I have to talk to other women and young ladies that were like myself. I kind of got some news. I applied for housing here in North Carolina in February. I got approved. I signed my paper last Friday. Girl, I'm about to get emotional, but I've always struggled with that. But I got approved Friday. I signed my paper. So this is a big stepping stone for myself and my kids. My youngest daughter, her dad has a big impact on my life today. And I'm just grateful to be here. Like, y'all, I'm so sorry. But this was something big for me and my kids. But I did get approved. And I guess now I'm just waiting for my keys. But I'm blessed, and I didn't have that then. And then when I tried to get housing, they said I had to be in a domestic violence relationship, and I can't lie on nobody. At the time, I wasn't experienced that, but I did experience with my son's dad. I don't know why I just got so emotional, but y'all, I've struggled with that since I was 17. I'm about to be 27, so this is a blessing for myself and for my kids. So I applied in February. Like I said, they called me. I signed my paperwork. I signed some of my paperwork Fridays between 2 communities. They are in Roper. I don't care where it's at. I'm not from here. So to be honest, I'm just grateful that they gave me an opportunity. He is trying to get me, well, I guess my worker, he is trying to get me into one versus the other. I sent him an email yesterday, sir. I don't care where it is. Like, I don't care if it's, y'all please forgive me, but I don't care if it's in the hood. I don't care if it's in a nice neighborhood. I don't care. Just long as I have this space for my kids, you make a home a home. Of course I'm stable and I'm good now. I've been with my daughter's dad, but we've been together for 4 years. So he has helped me a lot with my life. But yes, I'm very blessed. And I do, like I said, I do this now. So a lot of doors have been opening for me. I reached out to Pam, asking her maybe a couple months ago, her and Melissa, if you guys needed anything. I work for the nonprofit, and everything has been virtual due to COVID. I know y'all probably like you just with it, but I can't be sitting here letting myself get all emotional. Okay. But
Ashley, thank you so much for being
I'm very
real
blessed
with
where I am.
us and for sharing that. And I think it's something that everyone in this coalition, we've heard before that housing is an issue for human trafficking victims, but to have you tell us that you are 27 and that you've been struggling with housing since you were 17, that makes it a little bit more real for everybody. That's just not a statistic that we're hearing now. Oh, a lot of survivors have problem getting housing. I mean, it's real, and as you said, it's a foundation. And if you don't have the foundation of having stable housing, then it's pretty impossible to move forward with anything else. So I just really appreciate you sharing that. I think sort of as you were going through and sharing some other things that that came up, you mentioned, getting in school. So I would think that the assistance that Corona Rising offered and was perhaps helpful at the time, and if you had received more support for your education, perhaps that would have been helpful.
Yeah, I'm currently, I took a little break, but I am enrolled for my bachelor's degree in management at Independence University. I want to have my own nonprofit eventually one day. I really want to work with, I don't want to say troubled youth, but I really want to work with people that were like me, and I feel like that's a problem. So that's what I want to do. And y'all, it took me a long time to figure out what my purpose was. And Andrea used to try to get me, and I'm so thankful. Like, that lady is an angel to me. Like, y'all don't understand how much that lady has helped me. She busted her butt to try to get me housing in DC. We tried everything that we could. So it was a very much struggle. But she has helped me a lot with a lot of things, a lot. And I'm so grateful and blessed for the people that I have surrounding me. And, I'm not trying to say it like that, but some of it is not even my family. It's people that I've met throughout my life. But I'm very grateful. And I didn't get in depth to my story, but I done came a long way to be where I am today. A long way. And people don't understand that.
I think we all understand that you are a very strong woman, and we are very much just honored and humbled that you would share yourself with us today.
Everybody got trials and
one
tribulations.
One last service that I want to ask you about is, I think a lot of human trafficking survivors have legal issues whether that be they've got a record, whether they are having custody problem, you know, a myriad of issues, housing related legal issues. Is that something that you think would be a helpful service for survivors of human trafficking?
Yes. All of it. I mean, you can't, and of course things don't happen like that, you know. I did find myself getting in trouble a little bit as an adult. Nothing a little bit crazy, but being at the wrong place at the wrong time, you know, but I got it together. You had to, you know, but it really does affect, you know, things that you went through. And you know, I'm just glad that I caught myself before I got too deep and received some of the help that I needed now as I'm older, and the support that I have now within my nonprofit, and now meeting you guys, Pam, and you know, just having that type of support, it's very beneficial. And I feel like a problem a lot today is that there's not, like, we need people to bring survivors together, like, let them alone. You're not alone. And some people just need to be asked, are you okay? You know, are you really okay? And people don't ask that from time to time, you know, and that's important for a survivor. Like sometimes, and maybe then not one person, maybe somebody just needs to be, are you okay? Like, not, well, how do you feel today? No, how do you feel today? You know what I'm saying? Like, just be a little open. I feel like but yes, Pam, I know I'm all over the place, y'all, excuse me, but yes, I feel like that's very important. All that custody issues, your kids, housing, some might need help too, you know, if they need a little government assistance, food stamps, you know, things like that, maybe clothes, you know, it's a lot of stuff, you know, hygiene. If I'm not mistaken, I know Liz said that, you know, they do a lot of emergency things and, you know, help, you know, a lot of outreach. But I feel like a lot of people, like, as far for you guys that work with the youth or work, you know, trying to educate and prevent, some people, I feel like the outreach is very important for survivors, because some people might look, well, I'm not about to talk to them because they're affiliated with law enforcement, or I don't know if I want to deal with that because they're part of CPS, you know, Child Protective Services. But I feel like the main thing for survivors is letting them know, like, I'm here for you. That's important.
Well, thank you again so much for everything that you've shared with us. And I just want to give you the opportunity, if there's any, you know, one last thing you want to say about what your life is like now, or something you might be grateful for, or just anything you would like to share in closing.
Oh, honey, I'm blessed. Y'all don't understand. I'm beyond blessed. God has showed me, you know, he has guided me. And when I say God is real and he is on time, that man is real and he is on time. And he is. I lie to y'all not. I was praying and I cried and I just asked God to help me, not financially, not help me with my kids, not help me in my love life, anything that I need help with, anything. And I cried while I was praying. The next day, housing called me. And when I say my God, our God, he is on time, that man is on time. I'm very blessed and grateful of where I am, not just for housing, what I'm doing as far as my career, what I'm trying to do. I'm in a happy place. I'm at peace with myself. I'm very happy. I'm very grateful. I have a lot of things going on. A lot of doors are starting to open for me. So I'm in a good place. I'm very happy, and I'm very blessed.
Wow. Ashley, you are an inspiration to have been through everything that you've been through, and not only survived, but to have come to a place where you're at peace and looking forward, and you know, just wanting to raise your kids. And I'm just totally impressed and inspired by you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, y'all. Thank you.
Is there anything else? We sort of already went through announcements. If anyone has thought of anything else in terms of announcements or anything that we need to share.
And if anybody have any questions or anything, I'll be glad to answer y'all questions if y'all have any.
Okay, Ashley says that she'll answer questions, and I'll just caution you to be sensitive about the questions you ask.
Could you provide your email address in the chat box?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And hold on, y'all. I was saying, who asked that? I'll do that right now, y'all. I'm sorry.
Oh, Venus Curry.
I got you.
Yes.
I was just sending you a message too.
Oh, okay, girlie.
I will.
All right. Well, I think that you shared so much of yourself with us already, Ashley, that people don't know
It's okay.
what else to ask. So we are just grateful for you. And personally, I know Melinda and I are looking forward to working with you more. And even though you are moving away from us, we are still going to stay in touch.
Here. I'm still
here. And just to everyone in the coalition, thank you for being here today. If you do think of other announcements or anything you need to share, shoot me an email and I will be glad to share those with the rest of the group. We are going to, at least for the next month, we are going to meet here in Farmville in person again and be hybrid online again. And we will cross our fingers that the internet is kinder to us next month. But thank y'all for being here and have a great day.